I watched as the FBI agents swarmed my property, their flashing lights turning my meticulously built, state-of-the-art research lab into a beacon of my utter despair and professional ruin. It wasn't an explosion, a fire, or a breach of security by a rival corporation that brought them here. No, it was my own sister's wedding. Her fairytale dream had somehow morphed into a federal nightmare, and I was left staring down the barrel of a multi-million-dollar disaster, potentially facing charges that could end my career and my freedom. Was I wrong for cutting her out of my life completely after this? Tell me if you would have done the same thing. It all started innocently enough, or so I thought. My name is Alex, and for as long as I can remember, science has been my world. Not just a hobby, but an obsession, a calling. I pursued it relentlessly, through countless sleepless nights in college, through years of thankless post-doc work, all leading to my ultimate dream, establishing my own independent research facility. This wasn't just any lab, it was a bespoke, cutting-edge facility designed for advanced materials science, specializing in highly sensitive, proprietary processes. Think rare earth elements, advanced nanotechnology, and incredibly volatile chemical compounds that required specific atmospheric controls, ultra-lean environments, and stringent security protocols. It cost me every penny I had, plus a substantial loan, to build this place from the ground up on a secluded plot of land I owned, far from any residential areas. The total investment was easily $5 million, a sum that represented my entire life's work and future. It was my baby, my legacy, and the most secure, restricted area I possessed. Access was limited to myself and my 2 trusted research assistants, all of us with specialized training and top-tier security clearances. My sister, Sarah, on the other hand, was always the polar opposite. She was the free spirit, the social butterfly, the one who dreamt of grand gestures and fairytale endings. We loved each other in our own way, but our paths diverged wildly. While I was poring over schematics and chemical formulas, she was meticulously planning her dream wedding to Mark, a genuinely nice guy, but utterly oblivious to the complexities of my world. The wedding planning was an elaborate affair, stretching over 2 years, and Sarah's vision grew grander with each passing month. She wanted something unique, something memorable, something that would set her wedding apart from all the others. The trouble truly began about 6 months before the big day. Sarah called me, bubbling with excitement. "Alex, I have the most amazing idea for the wedding venue," she exclaimed, practically vibrating through the phone. I braced myself. Sarah's amazing ideas often involved me, my resources, or my quiet, solitary existence being disrupted. She then dropped the bombshell. She wanted to hold the reception at my research lab. I almost choked on my coffee. "Sarah, are you insane?" I managed to sputter, trying to keep my voice calm despite the rising panic. "That's not just a building. It's a high-security, ultra-clean research facility. It's filled with dangerous chemicals, sensitive equipment, and proprietary intellectual property. It's absolutely not a wedding venue." She laughed, a light, airy sound that grated on my nerves. "Oh, Alex, you always exaggerate. It'll be fine. We just need to clear out one of the larger rooms. It's got such great natural light and that industrial, chic vibe everyone loves. Think of pictures, and it's free. You already own it." Her tone was dismissive, as if my concerns were just quirky eccentricities. I tried to explain, patiently at first, then with increasing urgency, the myriad reasons why this was an impossible, dangerous, and professionally catastrophic idea. I talked about containment protocols, the risk of contamination, the federal regulations I was beholden to, the sheer value of the equipment, and the irreversible damage a single spilled drink or misplaced decoration could cause. I even brought up the specific, highly reactive samples we were working with, samples that, if exposed to certain elements, could cause severe health risks or even combustion. She just brushed it all aside with a wave of her hand. "You can just lock up all your little science experiments in a closet, can't you? It's one day, Alex, my wedding day. Don't you want to see your sister happy?" The emotional blackmail began in earnest. My mother, usually a supportive presence, got involved, tearfully imploring me to just do this one thing for your sister. My father, ever the pragmatist, tried to reason with Sarah, but she was immovable. She had built this fantasy in her head, and nothing would deter her. I spent weeks arguing, pleading, and finally, outright refusing. I even offered to pay for a much more expensive, legitimate venue, just to get her to back down. But she saw my refusal as a personal affront, a sign that I didn't care about her. Eventually, exhausted and worn down by the constant emotional pressure, I made a grave mistake. I gave her a conditional maybe, hoping it would buy me time. I told her, "Look, if I can secure everything, move all the sensitive materials to an off-site storage facility, shut down all critical systems, and get every single person attending to sign a comprehensive liability waiver and an NDA regarding the facility's nature, then maybe we can talk about using a small section of the non-lab administrative area for a very limited, very controlled reception, but it will be a monumental effort, and there are no guarantees." I thought this impossible list of demands would deter her. I was wrong. Sarah, with typical single-mindedness, took my maybe as a full yes. She started telling everyone that my lab was the venue. The invitations were printed, featuring a stylized rendering of my sleek, modern building. I was furious, but by then, the train had left the station. She had already put down non-refundable deposits with caterers and decorators who were under the impression they were working in a unique, industrial, chic space. I tried to backtrack, but the family pressure mounted again, tenfold. My mother accused me of trying to sabotage Sarah's happiness. My father said I was being unreasonable. Even my own research assistants, overhearing the family drama, began to express concern for my mental state. Desperate to avoid a complete family meltdown, I started the arduous, nearly impossible task of preparing the lab. I worked tirelessly for 2 months, relocating hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment and materials to a specialized, secure off-site storage unit. I shut down the air filtration systems in the main lab area, risking the long-term integrity of the building itself, just to make it safe for a party. I meticulously wiped down every surface, removed every potentially hazardous item, and installed temporary partitions to block off the most sensitive areas. The administrative area she wanted to use was still connected to the core lab, but I created a double, locked, alarmed barrier. I had signs everywhere: authorized personnel only, danger, highly sensitive research area, do not enter. I even had security guards hired for the day, purely to ensure no one wandered into the restricted zones. I made every single guest sign a liability waiver and a non-disclosure agreement. It was overkill, I know, but I felt like I was defusing a bomb, and I couldn't be too careful. The day of the wedding arrived, and I was a nervous wreck. I stood by the entrance, a forced smile plastered on my face, watching as guests arrived. Sarah looked radiant, and Mark seemed genuinely happy. The administrative area looked surprisingly good, transformed with elegant draperies, twinkling lights, and floral arrangements. For a few hours, it seemed like my worst fears were unfounded. People were dancing, eating, and congratulating the happy couple. I allowed myself a fleeting moment of relief, but then disaster struck. Sarah, flushed with champagne and joy, wanted to do a special reveal for her first dance. She had apparently seen something similar online and decided it would be perfect for her unique venue. Without a word to me, she instructed the DJ to play a specific song, and then, as the music swelled, she announced, "And now, for something truly special. Mark and I are going to dance in the heart of Alex's incredible lab." My blood ran cold. Before I could even react, she pulled a set of keys from her purse keys I had mistakenly left in the kitchen area of the administrative office. Assuming she wouldn't be looking for them, and with a flourish, she unlocked the double-locked barrier I had so painstakingly erected. A gasp went through the crowd. Mark, clearly confused but caught up in the moment, allowed himself to be led into the core research area. Guests, intrigued and emboldened by alcohol, followed. The security guards, whom I had specifically instructed to never let anyone beyond the administrative area, were overwhelmed and powerless against the bride herself. I screamed, "Sarah, stop, what are you doing?" But my voice was lost in the cheering. So that's the situation I was in, watching my life's work being desecrated by my own sister's wedding party. I had to make a choice: physically tackle my sister on her wedding day in front of everyone, or try to mitigate the impending catastrophe. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have tried to stop her, or would you have let the disaster unfold? The scene that unfolded next was a slow-motion nightmare. Sarah and Mark began their first dance amidst my high-precision analytical instruments. Guests, oblivious to the danger, started wandering around, marveling at the strange equipment. Children, hyped up on cake and soda, were running around, touching things, curiosity overriding any sense of caution. My meticulously calibrated mass spectrometers, the electron microscopes, the ultra-cold freezers containing delicate biological samples, all were suddenly accessible. Someone bumped into a cart, sending a tray of glassware clattering to the floor. Another guest, thinking it was a decorative prop, picked up a sealed container of a relatively benign but still extremely corrosive solvent, trying to open it. But the real horror began when Sarah's overly enthusiastic cousin, attempting to get a better photo of the dancing couple, leaned against what he thought was a sturdy workbench. It wasn't a workbench. It was a specialized glove box, designed for handling highly reactive gases and volatile compounds in an inert atmosphere. The cousin, a large man, stumbled, and his elbow hit the critical pressure release valve. A hiss, a faint, acrid smell. And then a small, barely visible cloud began to emanate from a now compromised sample chamber within the glove box. My heart leaped into my throat. It was the experimental batch of a new, highly specialized catalyst, something I was developing under a federal grant. This particular compound, while stable in its intended environment, was extremely sensitive to atmospheric moisture and oxygen. Exposure to ambient air caused it to rapidly degrade, releasing trace amounts of a highly toxic, corrosive gas. Not enough to kill everyone instantly, but certainly enough to cause severe respiratory irritation, chemical burns, and long-term health issues if exposure was prolonged. More importantly, this was a federally regulated substance, and its release, accidental or otherwise, constituted a serious environmental and safety breach. Panic seized me. "Everyone out, now, get out." I roared, my voice raw. The music screeched to a halt. Sarah, died and confused, finally realized the gravity of the situation. Guests, initially annoyed, began to cough, their eyes watering as the acrid smell intensified. I rushed to the glove box, fumbling for the emergency containment protocols, my mind racing through the safety manuals. It was a chaotic scramble. People were pushing and shoving, trying to get out of the lab. Sarah was sobbing, Mark was trying to herd people, and I was frantically trying to assess the extent of the leak and activate the emergency ventilation system. Within minutes, the building's internal alarms blared, triggered by the atmospheric sensors I had thankfully left active. These alarms weren't just sound. They sent an automatic distress signal to the local emergency services and, due to the nature of my federal grant, to the relevant federal agencies. That's when the flashing lights started appearing in the distance. The fire department arrived first, followed quickly by hazmat teams, and then, the unforgivable sight, the black SUV and stern-faced agents of the FBI. The next 48 hours were a blur of interrogation, decontamination procedures, and absolute professional humiliation. The lab was declared a hazardous zone. My grant was immediately suspended. Every single person at that wedding, including Sarah and Mark, had to undergo medical evaluation and decontamination. Fortunately, the exposure to the toxic gas was limited due to the swift evacuation and the relatively small amount released. No one suffered permanent damage, but several guests experienced severe respiratory distress and skin irritation, requiring medical attention. The financial damage, however, was astronomical. The compromised catalyst batch was irreplaceable and cost hundreds of thousands of dollars in research and materials. The cleanup and decontamination process for the lab itself would run into the high six figures, and the legal ramifications. A full federal investigation, potential fines, and the very real possibility of losing my federal grant eligibility and my scientific license, effectively ending my career. My sister, Sarah, was hysterical, apologizing profusely, but the damage was done. She couldn't comprehend the scale of the disaster she had caused, let alone fix it. She saw it as just an accident, a wedding mishap, but to me, it was the destruction of my life's work, the betrayal of my trust, and a blatant disregard for my professional integrity. The FBI agents were particularly interested in how a highly restricted federal research facility could have been used as a party venue. My explanation, trying to shield Sarah while still being truthful, sounded weak and pathetic even to my own ears. Ultimately, I was cleared of any deliberate wrongdoing, but the investigation cast a long shadow. My grant was eventually reinstated, but with far more stringent oversight and a significant delay to my project. The financial hit was immense, forcing me to take out another massive loan to cover the uninsured cleanup costs and replacement of damaged equipment. My reputation in the scientific community took a major blow as news of the wedding incident spread like wildfire. As for Sarah, I haven't spoken to her since that day. She tried to reach out, sending endless apologies and tearful voicemails, but I just couldn't. Every time I think of her, I see the flashing lights, the hazmat suits, and the look of utter devastation on the faces of my research team. The wound is too deep, the betrayal too profound. My parents tried to mediate, but I told them plainly, she almost cost me everything, and I cannot forgive that level of recklessness and disrespect. This entire ordeal has taught me a harsh lesson about boundaries, about protecting what's vital to you, and about the devastating consequences of letting emotional manipulation override your better judgment. It was $1. $5 million lab, my dream, my future, and she turned it into a federally compromised crime scene for her wedding photos. So, that's my story. I've rebuilt my lab, but the scar remains. Like this video if you were on my side, if you understand why I had to cut ties. Subscribe for more stories like this, and please, share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section. Tell me, was I justified? I'll see you all in the next story.